Live. Right, and we're live. You're listening to Interchain FM, the Cosmos radio station. If you're seeking alpha in the cosmos, look no further. I'm your host, Chjango Unchained. Before we get started, if you enjoy the alpha that you get from this channel, I'd encourage you to delegate to Interchain FM. If you are currently staking on the Cosmos Hub and not staking to Interchain FM, I would greatly appreciate an instant redelegation. You might have seen some of our Cosmos t-shirts being signed online in the Sign the Shirt campaign. If you want your PFP on the Cosmos shirt, do sign it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and go to suitdrop.zone and hit sign the shirt, and then that's how you're going to get your PFP on that shirt. There's still time. And then we are going to airdrop a shirt token to all Interchain FM stakers, or some Interchain FM stakers, and you're going to be able to mint a physical shirt, and that will be mailed to you at some point in time. And I'm hoping that I'll get to see some of you wearing the shirt at OsmoCon in Paris, July 21st. Okay, on to more fun stuff for why y'all are here. We're going to talk about Cosmos NFTs coming to the Interchain via a game of NFTs. So we're here with Shane from Stargaze and Daniel from IrisNet, who can speak to the game that's ensuing right now. Welcome to the show.
Hey everyone.
Thanks for having us, Chjango.
Yes, so glad to have you here. So game of NFTs just wrapped up in phase 1, and there's another phase right now, phase 2. What's going on there?
For phase 1, we have about 200 teams. Well, to be specific, we have 197 teams submitted their final works, and those also the number who have won partially from the phase 1 prize pool. Aside from that, we have quite some interesting building and bug detecting from phase 1. Well, one vital bug is found to, that bug, if goes alive, give any attacker the ability to freely move users NFT without permission. So that is kind of like a very vital one. So we've already fixed that. And before anything goes to the launch environment, that is also already fixed. And other than that, we have quite some interesting tools like the Explorer, Faucet, and we also detected like a lot of we have a good community in this one. About I would say about 600 people participated in our Discord channel, so quite interesting so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting how these incentivized testnets have evolved over time. I remember some of you participated in 2017 when we started the incentivized testnet idea for bootstrapping proof of stake validators, right? That wasn't a thing before. And now, years later, we're doing this game of NFTs because Cosmos is not really known to be an NFT ecosystem, but I think we're making some headway there. Is that the intention with this, Shane?
The intention with game of NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the intention of game of NFTs is to battle test ICS Sum 21. So for those that don't know, ICS Sum 21 is kind of the NFT equivalent of ICS 20, which enables non-fungible token transfers, and ICS 20 is for fungible token transfers. And the spec was initially designed off of ICS 20 by the IrisNet team and a bunch of other people, and it was designed before ICA, so it works very
Interchain
similar
accounts.
Yeah, it was designed in a time before interchain accounts, where you lock up an NFT on one side and then you mint a new one on the other side. Right now on Stargaze, we have creators that are already kind of multi-chain. We have creators that are want to move collections from one chain to Stargaze, and there's even some that want to move some of their NFTs from Stargaze to another chain. And the way it works right now is very manual, right? So they would burn it on one chain and then mint a new one on Stargaze, and that breaks the provenance of the NFT. And provenance of the NFT is very important because that's where it derives its value from. You have to track the ownership going back to the kind of the minting, the original minting event. So ICSM 21 helps in this case because it does lock up the NFT on the source chain, and it maintains the IBC kind of route while it's transferred around. So it kind of helps with the provenance and makes kind of the migrations a bit more explicit. So I think that's where it kind of helps. But the intention of Game of NFTs, at least the part one, as Daniel said, was to kind of battle test the two implementations. There's a Cosmosm implementation that Stargaze kind of led, and then there's the SDK implementation as well. And IBC is designed to be language agnostic, so both of these can kind of work together. So you'll be able to transfer NFTs across SDK chains and Cosmosm chains. And phase two is more about building tools and utilities kind of on top of ICS 721 and using ICS 721.
Got it. So for those of you who are newer to this space, ICS stands for interchain standards in this case, not interchain security. So interchain standard 721 is the Cosmos answer to the ERC 721. But Shane, I want to dive into some details of the spec because I'm hearing that because we have interchain accounts, and if you're not familiar with interchain accounts, I do encourage you to watch that video interview that I did with the Interchain Foundation a couple months back. That will serve as a good primer for you. So we have interchain accounts now where you're able to control the NFT or whatever asset on some other chain from your chain. So if I'm starting from Stargaze and I want to control an NFT that's on Juno, for example, I would use interchain accounts and then move the NFT to and from on Juno. Is that how it works? Or does it work another way?
Well, I think the real value with ICA comes in when you want to do something more than just transfer or something alongside with the transfer, right? So for example, one thing we're working on is Stargaze Outposts. And with Outposts, you can have the liquidity in kind of one place, and other chains can easily kind of write contracts that work with Stargaze without having to do kind of all the IBC kind of functionality on their own. So one thing you can do is, like, for example, let's say that you're on hypothetically, let's say you're on Osmosis and there's an NFT on Osmosis and you want to list it on the Stargaze marketplace, right? You could write a protocol that will kind of sit on top of ICS 721. It'll use ICS 721 to move the NFT to Stargaze, but then it'll use ICA to do the operations on Stargaze, for example, to list on the marketplace or to trade on the marketplace or something like that. So they kind of work together. And I think we'll start seeing like meta protocols that kind of use ICS 721. You can kind of think of it as like a highway between between chains where NFTs can flow through. Like another thing you can build on top of it is like when you travel through a highway, you have some kind of toll, right? And for example, one thing we want to do is like incentivize liquidity to come into Stargaze, but maybe we want to have some kind of exit tax as well. I mean, we want NFTs to flow around the ecosystem, but we also don't want like all the bad kids or something to like be drained out of Stargaze, right? So we need like some kind of exit, maybe some kind of exit tax and some kind of entrance liquidity incentive, which will be built on top of ICSM 21.
Well, that seems like a straightforward thing to implement. Just copy the Ethereum model with the Ethereum bridges, right? I mean, to get out of Ethereum or even onto Ethereum, but to get out of it in particular, there is an exit tax, a quite hefty one, right? You got to pay around $80 each way to get out, to get onto a chain. And so, that's disincentive right there. So I want to ask you guys a philosophical question, because this is, I had a conversation with Ilya a few months ago, Ilya from Near, and his argument with the way that we should design NFT infrastructure is one such that NFTs should not be minted and then burned on a chain that you're wanting to transfer it to, because it loses the non-fungible properties of it, right? It becomes inherently fungible. So and his argument is that the NFT should just have one home, like in one canonical chain for the minting and burning and doing whatever it is. And if you were trying to control it from another chain for that wallet or whatever account you have on the other chain, to control the actions of the NFT on its canonical chain. So that was his idea with how Near's wallets should be able to control NFTs on like an Ethereum NFT project. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, we're doing something similar implementation wise, but the idea, the design concept is still around moving NFTs across blockchains.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to hear what Daniel says about this too, but I think you'll end up seeing both. For example, if you think of an NFT like as your home, maybe you want to get like a home equity loan, but you still kind of like want to live in your home as well. So like in that case, like if your NFT is just like locked up somewhere and you can't like use it, that's not really great, right? So in that case, maybe it does make sense to have something more like an ICA model where the NFT can be controlled from a controller chain and be used in a protocol on another chain. But there are cases where you do want to like migrate collections over. Like we're getting a lot of demand for that on Stargaze. So there is a use case for ICSM 21.
Yeah, can you shed light on that? What exactly is the request? Is it because there is no NFT marketplace on the other chain that they're on, and that's why they want to migrate their NFTs to the Stargaze marketplace to leverage the liquidity that's available there?
Yeah, exactly, right. So Stargaze has the marketplace, is the most active marketplace in the Cosmos ecosystem. We're building a lot of NFT DeFi protocols, like there's Infinity Swap that's launching soon, which is NFT AMM. So their traders want to use these tools, and the other chain may not have that. It may not have a marketplace with the same amount of activity and usage and volume, and also community, right? Community is a huge part of this stuff, right? I think Stargaze has some of the highest retention in the Cosmos ecosystem. The community is incredibly strong, and there are people that want to be part of that.
Right. And you actually alluded to something interesting, and I want to get your guys' thoughts about this in terms of what novel applications you imagine can emerge from an Interchain native NFT standard. So what are your guys' thoughts about Blur's lending market, where you could collateralize with an NFT? Somehow it has some valuation, and then you're able to borrow based on that. Is that a concept that is being explored with this infrastructure?
Yeah, I think eventually. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
No problem. Go ahead. I'm sitting in the mall. I'm a little worried about the background noise.
Yeah, I think the kind of perpetual kind of lending and borrowing thing that Blend is doing is interesting. I think right now we should be exploring the design space as much as possible. I think it's the one drawback to it is that you know, you have to check your position every 30 hours because like another auction could have started and it could be switching to a lower APR. So you kind of have to constantly monitor your position. So it might not be for everyone. Some people might prefer more of a traditional kind of peer-to-peer lending, you know, lending market like NFTX. But I think it's interesting. But also the reason Blur and kind of Blend work is that they do work with market makers who kind of provide a lot of the liquidity and a lot of the activity. You know, there are players like Wintermute and a bunch of others that are kind of in this space. Cosmos hasn't professionalized like that yet, but you know, I do believe it will come in time. There is just that the ecosystem hasn't caught up to that level yet. You know, right now it's just a lot of retail kind of trading and kind of playing around in the Cosmos ecosystem. But eventually this stuff will get more kind of professionalized and the market makers will come. And then these kind of products make a bit more sense.
Do you have any thoughts about that, Daniel?
Yeah, I think Shane pretty much covered everything about it. For renting and lending, it's pretty much increased the liquidity of NFTs, and you know, as a type of asset, I think NFT, you know, Interchain NFT just opened up new space and freedom for any asset to, you know, expose to a larger audience, larger customers. So, and with this kind of tools or functions, you know, they increase the liquidity, lower the entrant level. So I think that's a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm. You know, something that I'm excited about is the gaming application. I mean, I know that, you know, GameFi is all the rage, but when I play Super Smash Brothers pretty religiously and like train quite often. But then there's single player mode where, you know, you go through this map of arenas and challenges, and what they have is something called spirits, and those spirits are like Pokemon cards. And as I was collecting these cards, it became really clear that they could each be NFTs. And if you wanted a certain superpower, you know, or assist skill, you could potentially buy it as an NFT. I think that application, I mean, people are starting to explore that application now, but it's not been, I mean, until we onboard a gaming giant like Nintendo, it's only going to be like a toy concept, right? But I think that that's one of the more interesting use cases.
Yeah, you know, gaming is such a natural use case for NFTs, but the unfortunate reality we live in is that for some reason gamers hate NFTs. You know, we have like a image problem in the mainstream, and mainstream gamers just really aren't into NFTs, and I think we have to work on fixing that problem. I know there's a huge narrative being pushed about blockchain gaming, but I think that narrative is mostly coming from VCs who actually don't play games, so they are not aware of what's going on. But yeah, gamers aren't in NFTs for some reason. We had to do something to change that. But that said, there are games being built with NFTs, and there's plenty of gaming projects being built on Stargaze as well. But it's gamers within the crypto ecosystem. It's not necessarily gamers that are in the mainstream.
Yeah, but here's the question, right? Is it that we need to change the minds of gamers themselves, or do we just need to create the infrastructure to allow Nintendo to utilize, maybe it makes sense for them in the future, maybe it doesn't, but it's one of those things where gamers don't necessarily even need to understand that it's an NFT that they're holding, right? But we do know that they want to pay for items in game. We do know that they collect those and trade those. It's just a matter of, I guess, formalizing that with crypto.
Yeah, I think what it takes is like a mega game to come out that uses NFTs but may not even use the word NFT.
Yeah.
And just like they'll have much lower transaction fees. They'll have a nice marketplace where they can easily trade, and all this like the crypto stuff maybe is abstracted away. And I think that's the kind of way to get in. And I think it'll take like a mega hit for that to happen.
It's one of those things that I view it as materializing in the 20-year time frame, in where in the 10-year time frame where crypto payment rails is starting to saturate the entire market of payments. Until that happens, gaming's not going to happen, because like when you go to Nintendo Switch console, you're inputting your credit card number to buy Switch online membership, and you're buying games, and then you're winning, you're playing through the game to get your little cards, your little spirits. So it's I think until the crypto market becomes more mature from an infrastructure standpoint, only then will this type of application really start to shine, because there's like a natural integration with payments and games, where and you
Sure,
could
yeah.
completely bypass the credit card system and like the Swift system, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it has to come from both angles. It's not just infrastructure, right? So like, the web and web applications, for example, is not like Cisco went out and built all this routers and infrastructure, and then a bunch of application developers were like, "Oh, there's all this infrastructure. Let's build something on it." Right? It was more like the applications started getting built and started pushing the limits of the infrastructure, and then the infrastructure kind of caught up. And then when the infrastructure caught up, then the applications started getting more sophisticated, and they kind of work in tandem, right? I think one kind of pet peeve I have about kind of the crypto investing landscape is that there's so much funding going into infrastructure and not enough on applications, because applications is what brings in the users to cause a reason to build the infrastructure in the first place, right? So we're building crazy pie in the high in the sky infrastructure right now, where we can just look to like Terra was a vanilla Cosmos chain that did a crap ton of volume, and we didn't need L2s, we didn't need data availability layers, any of this stuff, right? So the users just aren't there yet. So I think we really should have more of a focus on the application layer right now.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Do you see us repeating the history of the evolution of the internet, where that's exactly what you said, right? Consumer apps front ran the infrastructure, such that infrastructure needed to catch up, and I'm seeing that right now, especially with DYDX. DYDX is really interesting, right? Because they had to get off of Ethereum. It just wasn't providing the throughput that they needed, such that they came to Cosmos as like the best solution for them. So that being said, with Interchain NFTs, what do you view the future of the Cosmos ecosystem becoming with this primitive? I mean, we're very early, right? Like the standard was just spec'd out, so we're like, I don't know, 5 years too early to be talking about like real consumer applications. But where do you view it going?
I think you'll be able to do really cool stuff. Yeah? Like, maybe you'll be able to transfer a Stargaze NFT to like a bad kit to like Umee or something and do like, lending and borrowing there or something like that, right? Or maybe you have like a collection that has like a collection that's part of a game that has like secret items or something, right? And then maybe it might make sense for that to be like minted on Secret Network or something, the secret metadata, and then maybe you want to like trade on a marketplace with more volume, then you can move to Stargaze, right? There's just and maybe Uptake and Iris also have like different use cases. So and I think there'll be some interesting co-opetition going on too with this stuff, which just kind of benefits everybody.
Yeah, I think with the ICS 721, currently Ethereum is working or is acting as the home of basically most of the NFT ecosystem, right? But its throughput, maybe they are working on it. They maybe will solve them in the future, but from the infrastructure wise, NFT as for example, as a gaming asset, gaming item, or even as a collection in the future, they need to be utilized somewhere. In the last round, we see a lot of PFP projects. Right now, up to this point, there is a lot of questions saying, "Hey, why is this worth some money?" or why are we buying this? I understand, some of the collection, for example, the CryptoPunks, they are the first one to all the industry, they have collection value, but others, well, I'm assuming in the next round they will require utility, and when the utility comes, the throughput and the transfer, the transaction speed and things like that, it's going to be very important for things like that. And with Interchain NFTs, and Cosmos app specific technology infra, we can provide or work as the scenarios, like maybe we have gaming applications, we have renting applications, we have social applications, and we are fast, we are quick to go, and anyone can use our application, use our infra to quickly deploy a new app. And also, all those apps are connected. You're not limited to one single ecosystem, and your asset is also safe. For example, safe in Ethereum, it's just transferred from there into the using scenario. So we can like different us from Ethereum and give us a second mover advantage over that. We work as maybe as the using scenario, and they working as a home of asset, and that can, in between is the interchain NFT technology or infrastructure to connect us. So that's my understanding.
So let me ask you this. How exactly does the ICS 721 standard preserve non-fungibility if you're transferring the tokens across different chains?
There are some English word I'm trying to know, but I think your question is how Interchain NFT is to protect its uniqueness, right?
Yeah, it's non-fungibility.
Okay. I mean, from my point of view, FT and NFT are quite different. In that case, the infrastructure for FT and for NFT should be different. But right now, for example, for the interchain bridges, we're using exactly the same logic for FT and NFT. That's the problem. For example, right now on FT bridges, we have three major risk exposures, right? Number one is on the original chain. Number two is on the target chain. And number three is on the interchain bridge. And they are using one staking, one launch, one mint process, right? They stake on the original chain and they mint on the new chain, right? But NFT is, as you say, we want to protect its uniqueness. We don't have to stake one, mint one. We can stake one, mint two. One is only used for redeeming it, for redeeming the original NFT, and one is for the usage scenario. In that case, we are separating the ownership of NFT and the usage of the NFT apart. And the redeeming NFT never leaves the original chain. So it does not expose to any of the risk come from the interchain bridge and from the target chain. And we also protected its uniqueness in this way, because on the target chain, it's just for the usage NFT is, in the scenarios or for example, in the gaming, I have a sword and, I just want this sword to be used in another game, to realize that I don't necessarily have to transfer my original sword to the other chain. All I need to do is let the game recognize, hey, this is the original sword and I want to use it in my game. But FT is kind of like similar to money, right? Money, you cannot separate usage and ownership apart, right? I spend $2, I give you the spend right, the use right, and I'm keeping the money. That's not work. But for commodity NFT, something like that, we can separate that apart. And in that logic, we number one, protect the uniqueness of NFT. Number two, we systemically reduce the risk channel we exposed to. So that's just a quick example of, I think there are more infrastructures needed for NFT to be mass adoption. But before that, I think interchain NFT is certainly one of the most important infrastructures among them.
Yeah, so the way that it's designed, it still sounds to me as if there's, like, even though you're preserving security, material, right? Like, technically, it seems like by moving it across chain, it's effectively like so if I am an NFT and I was minted in the United States, but I'm trying to travel to Japan. In order for me to travel to Japan, we're going to extinguish my body that's in the United States and then mint another Chjango in Japan. That sounds like that's the way that it's designed. Whereas my conception of an NFT is, okay, well, I don't want this body to die to mint a copy of an exact replica of me in Japan, but rather I want to transfer me to Japan and travel through some highway.
Well, for the uniqueness of NFT, the important part is, for example, in the application scenario, that you can only use it in one scenario, right? If we are, using this technology and make it possible to use it in multiple scenarios, that's the problem. But the beauty of that is, in your case, I'm staking your body in the America, and in Japan, I'm not saying we have to transfer your original body there.
Oh, we got a Chjango derivative, a Chjango clone?
Right. Kind of like a WETH with WChango. And the only thing we need to solve during the process is, number one, we need to make sure that there is only one W Channel, not multiple ones, right? Because that's where the uniqueness of NFT lies. Number two, the places you want to, for example, it's a mall, right? The mall you want to go into have to know your new buddy. Hey, that's the Chjango original actually, but the American one didn't come here. But she's still Chjango. So that's kind of like the spirit behind it.
Okay, what happens if this situation happens?
Okay.
Chjango is in America. She wants to go to Japan. So you stake or rather jail America Chjango and then
Okay.
mint clone Chjango in Japan. And then
Okay.
after I live in Japan for a little bit, I want to go to Europe. So you jail the clone Chjango that's in Japan and then you mint the WW Chjango that's in Europe, in Paris, let's say. And then that one, do the same thing, and she wants to come back to the United States. So does the Chjango in the United States get unlocked? Or is a new one minted and then the one that the original Chjango gets locked up forever, and then there's like just another clone of a clone of a clone in America?
I think in your case, in order to, maybe you want to go to Mexico, for example, before that you have to send back your Japan Chjango and unlock your American Chjango, and then lock your American Chjango again and mint an Mexico version, right? Because at one time we can only have one W Chjango in the system, in the whole system. And the beauty of that is, if somebody steal your W Chjango in Japan, they cannot collect your American Chjango back, because that's not the key for collection. It's just for usage. In that case, whatever happens in the using scenario doesn't affect your original asset. So you are quite safe in that way.
Well, okay, so in the Shane instance of Stargaze, if there's a Chjango on, I don't know, secret network chain, and I lock it up because I wanted to send it to the Stargaze marketplace to sell, what am I selling on Stargaze? What's happening there? If it gets sold to someone else, then what happens? What happens to W Chjango, and what happens to original Chjango on secret chain?
Well, that is another, the downer level of this function. So for most of the W Chjango, they have a expiration date. Means before a certain date, this is usable. After that, it's not usable. So if you sell the W Chjango in Stargaze, what you bought is, for example, 30 days of 30 days of rights to use W Chjango in Japan, but you cannot use it to redeem redeem the original Chjango. If you want to, well, when you lock Chjango in American, we give you two things actually. We give you one key to unlock her. Another thing is the W Chjango in Japan. So there are two choices for you personally. You can sell your key to the Chjango. In that case, you basically sold the original asset. But you can also sell the W Chjango. In that case, you basically selling a certain period of time using rights of the W Chjango. So those two scenarios.
Okay, so help me understand. The buyer of W Chjango gets effectively a bearer and instrument that they could redeem for the real Chjango in the original chain.
Right.
Okay.
So in that case, I'm thinking, for NFT, especially for the bridges part, I'm thinking this way is much more safer, much more, basically it's safer, and should be different from what we have with FT, because as everyone know, we have a lot of hacks and attacks on the FT bridges recently, right? I think maybe it's not $1 billion size, but certainly several hundred million ones.
Right. Absolutely. Great. So, okay. So I think we've covered the technical aspects of Interchain NFTs and how it's designed. So thank you for explaining that. Well, we're going to talk about some call to actions about game of NFTs. So are there certain things, like certain tools or resources that people could use should they want to participate in the game?
I mean, we are using Dora Hacks to to release information about the hackathon, and we have a Discord channel specifically with mentors and judges in it to answer questions and to collect the information from the community. If anyone wants to reach out to us, that's the place. The Discord channel is within the Cosmos official Discord channel. And we encourage anyone interested to maybe submit your registration on Dora Hacks. That's how we know your contact info, and we'll reach out to you, drag you into the Discord channel. And after that, we are preparing several workshops from the sponsors and from the mentors to help you guys to understand maybe the what's the requirement for different channel, what kind of tools specifically the you guys can use on, and those are also from the Cosmos official channel, official Twitter. If you follow the Cosmos Twitter, you will see the information there. That's how you guys can reach out to us, and we're hoping, we're welcoming more and more ecology into Cosmos ecosystem. We're hoping to help everyone and co-building with everyone.
And what's the prize amount? Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, we have in total about $300,000 in the prize pool. We separate them into 5 channels, each channel with specific sponsors. There are Stargaze, AresNet, Cosmos Hub, Omniflix, and Uptick. They have each individual cool directions or functions they want to build on, and most importantly, we are trying to find business or just like we discussed today, application scenarios, or to bring in more attraction maybe into Cosmos ecosystem, and more user, more builder into this system.
Got it. And Shane, I noticed that there's a little someone who could give us a cameo on your lap.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is my little buddy. This is Bobo. He's the Stargaze mascot.
Oh, he's so cute. In before Bobo Coin. Oh,
should totally do that.
Yeah. Okay, we're taking comments, and if you have any questions, to those of you listening in live, you should do so now. JC Collery says NFTs need to break away from the stigma, much like early internet. It needs to be prettied up for easier ingestion. We are here connecting chains, but we need to be connecting to platforms. You're right.
Yeah, we're just in the early days of this stuff. Like when audio first moved from CDs to the internet, right? Everyone called them MP3s, right? So we're calling these things NFTs now. And then after a certain point in time, I think I talked about this before, but no one talks about a Spotify song as an MP3. It's just a song. Eventually all media will be NFTs, and then it's just like a JPEG, it's just an image. The stigma will go away when everything's on chain, right? And I think especially now we're entering a world of just ubiquitous AI everywhere, just deep fakes everywhere. This is just going to get exponentially worse. The only way around this problem is to sign our data with our keys. That's the only way you can prove that you said something or some content is yours. So in my view, there's no other option to solve this problem than going with NFTs and signing your data with your content and signaling your intention when you make transactions and transfer your content.
Sure. And you pointed out a very an important key distinction for NFTs, because for those who are skeptics, you're wondering, why do we need a blockchain for this? But it seems like high overhead. The infrastructure seems inefficient for doing the things that worked well, like gaming in the centralized world, right? But like you said, with AI, that actually does necessitate like proof of ownership, or proof of signing that this thing is actually a real photo, not an AI generated photo. Good point. All right, so where can people find more information about Game of NFTs and the two of you?
I would say for me personally, on my Twitter. And for Game of NFTs, we have a Twitter account. Let me find the link. It's twitter.com/game_of_NFTs. And as well as we are releasing information through the Cosmos official Twitter. So if you follow the Cosmos official Twitter, you will also see information about the Game of NFTs.
Great.
And just everything what Daniel just said about following Game of NFTs from the Cosmos official account. My Twitter is at Shane3D, which is on the screen right there.
By the way, how to send the message in this?
Yeah, you posted in the private chat, so you want to put it in comments.
Okay.
But anyway, to those of you who are listening in live now, I want to congratulate you. We know you're a dedicated alpha seeker, especially in this bear market. And stay tuned, because we recorded 4 back-to-back interviews at Consensus, and we are going to air them every single week on Thursday. So just look out for those for the early alpha. All right. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.
See you, Chjango.